Bonus episode. When disappointment hits without warning. Today I want to talk about something that doesn't get talked about enough. What do you do when disappointment hits you out of nowhere? Not the kind you see coming, not the kind you prepare for, but the kind that blindsides you when you were expecting good news. That happened to me this week. I had just received joyful news, something I had been praying for. A donor had been found for my bone marrow transplant. It felt like a breakthrough, like things were finally moving forward. Then came the bone marrow biopsy. The goal was simple: to see if the chemo had brought my blast cells down to 5% or less. I was hopeful. I had even prepared myself for what I thought was the worst case scenario, that the number might stay at 8%, because I was told that if it stayed at 10% or below, we could still move forward with the transplant. So I opened the pathology report, expecting progress. But instead, I saw a number I wasn't ready for. 15%. I read it again and again. Disbelief turned into disappointment. And if I'm honest, despair. And in that moment, the scripture came to mind, Proverbs 13:12. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. And that's exactly what it felt like. A heavy, aching heart. The weight of unexpected disappointment. There's something especially hard about unexpected disappointment. Because when you face bracing for bad news, you instinctively protect your heart. You prepare yourself. You lower your expectations. You tell yourself, okay, I can handle this if it doesn't go the way I hope. But when you're expecting good news, you don't guard your heart in the same way. You let yourself feel hope. You let yourself imagine what's next. You begin to step into what you believe is coming. Your heart opens. And that's what makes it so painful. Because it's not just disappointment. It's the collapse of something you had already started to hold onto. It wasn't just the number. It was everything tied to it. The transplant timeline, something I had mentally began counting down toward, the waiting that I thought was almost behind me, the uncertainty that I believed was finally clearing, and in a moment, it all shifted. Instead of starting the countdown to transplant, my journey took an unexpected turn. I now need to be admitted for inpatient chemotherapy at Moffitt Cancer Center for 3 to 4 weeks to receive targeted treatment to bring my blast cells down. And with that, I know what comes with it. My numbers will drop. My body will be more vulnerable. I'll need blood and platelet transfusions just to support my body through the process. This isn't just a change in plan. It's a change in rhythm, in pace, in what I thought the next few weeks would look like. And the weight of that was heavy. Because the plan had changed, and with it, everything I had envisioned. The way I thought this would unfold, the timeline I had begun to settle into. That quiet sense of we're moving forward now. And suddenly, I wasn't where I thought I would be. And that kind of shift, it doesn't just affect your schedule. It touches your emotions, your expectations, your sense of progress. And for a moment, it can feel like you've been pushed backward. But even in that feeling, there is something deeper happening. Something that isn't always easy to see right away. Because sometimes a changed plan doesn't mean you've lost ground. It just means you've been redirected. The shift. There's something about having a plan, something you've prepared your heart for, something you've prayed over, processed, and slowly came to peace with, and then suddenly it shifts. Not gradually, not with warning, but in a moment, and it can feel disorienting. Because your heart had already started to settle into what you believed was coming. You had begun to picture it, to prepare for it, to emotionally step into it. And now you're being asked to step into something different, something you didn't prepare for. And in that moment, you have a choice. Not a choice about what is happening, but a choice in how you respond to what is happening. Because the first instinct is often to push it down, to say, it's fine, I'll deal with it later, I just need to stay strong. But unacknowledged disappointment doesn't disappear. It lingers. It weighs on you. It shows up in your thoughts, your emotions, even in your body. So instead, you have to pause and gently, honestly say, this is not what I expected, and it's hard. Not as a complaint, but as truth. Because there's something powerful about naming what you're feeling. It takes the pressure off pretending. It creates space for honesty. It allows your heart to breathe. And it gives you permission to be human in the middle of it. Because strength is not found in pretending you're okay. It's found in being honest about where you are. And here's the key. Only when you acknowledge the disappointment can you begin to move forward. Not by skipping over it, but by moving through it. And as you move through it, something begins to shift. Not your circumstances, but your footing. You're no longer stuck in the moment it happened. You're taking your first step beyond it. And that step is what leads you back to your anchor. For me, that anchor is my faith. Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And God showed up, not just through peace, but through people. My sister came and sat with me. She cried with me. She prayed with me. She didn't try to fix it. She just stayed until Sarah came home from working late. Sometimes the greatest comfort is simply not being alone. Choosing to keep living. The next morning I had a decision to make. I could stay in the disappointment or take one small step forward. So I asked my sister to go to the store with me. It was early, quiet. I wore my mask because my immune system is still very compromised. But we went, and we had a beautiful morning, simple but meaningful. Then she took me to lunch to my favorite restaurant. And in the middle of everything, there was still joy. Not because everything is perfect, but because life is still a gift. Later that day, I received a call from a sweet friend, and it was one of those moments you know was perfectly timed. She spoke with such wisdom and love. She didn't dismiss what I was feeling. She reminded me, this is not the end of the story. God is still writing. Philippians 1:6, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. And her words lifted my spirit. Here's what I'm learning. Disappointment doesn't cancel purpose. It doesn't mean your story is over. It doesn't mean something has gone wrong beyond repair. It just means you're in a chapter you didn't expect. Sometimes that's the hardest part, because we don't just grieve outcomes, we grieve expectations. The timeline we had in our minds, the way we thought things would unfold, the moment we thought we were stepping into. But a changed plan does not equal a changed promise. And even here, God is still working, even in the detour, even in the delay, even in the part that feels like a setback. What feels like interruption to us is often preparation in His hands. There is work happening that we cannot see, strength being built, faith being deepened, trust being stretched. There are things being aligned that we don't yet understand. And if I'm honest, this is the part where I don't always have answers. I don't always understand the timing. I don't always understand the why. But I'm learning. I don't have to understand to trust. So when my thoughts start to spiral, when the questions get loud, when fear tries to take over, I come back to Proverbs 3 verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Not because I've figured it all out, not because I know, but because I know who is holding it all together. And that changes everything. Because even here, I am still held. Even here, my steps are still ordered. Even here, God is still leading me. And this chapter, the one I didn't choose, is still part of the story He is faithfully writing. So what do you do when disappointment hits out of nowhere? You feel it. You bring it to God. You lean on others. You receive encouragement when it comes. And then you keep living, because this moment is not the end of your story. If you're walking through disappointment today, hold on. God sees you. He is with you. And He is not finished. Take a breath, take a step, and keep living. Because even here, there is still purpose, there is still beauty, and there is still hope. If this inspired you, share it with someone who is dealing with disappointment. Like it by clicking the thumbs up. follow me by clicking the bell sign, as this will help me reach more people. Until next time, stay anchored.